Before we start this news story, I just wanted to take a moment and reflect on Chester Bennington's influence in music. I've been thinking about him a lot over the last couple of weeks. I grew up loving Linkin Park's music, and I just think it's important to recognize his contributions to the music that we all love. Linkin Park is a special band, and I'm very happy to see they're back. But, you know, as many of you have commented, it'll never be the same without him, and it's just heartbreaking that he's not here. And so I just wanted to take a moment and acknowledge the mind-blowing contributions that he has made to music, and we will always have those songs to go back and listen to, and I know they mean so much to you just as they mean so much to me. So I just want to take a moment and acknowledge that. But we have some breaking news to get to, and that is one of rock's biggest bands, one of their most iconic groups, Linkin Park, is back. And with that big news, they've introduced their new singer, Emily Armstrong, who took the stage at a very special event in Burbank, California that was put on for Linkin Park fans who got to see this performance for the first time. She took the stage, she performed Linkin Park classics, and we got a first look at this new era of the band. Now, their brand new record, From Zero, will be releasing on November 15th. They also just released a new single and music video called The Emptiness Machine, and reaction is pouring in. The band has also given an interview to Billboard, who initially broke those rumors where they had multiple sources in Linkin Park's camp about this return, and there was so much speculation about whether or not it was going to be true. I always felt like there was a lot to this. They were giving specifics on how the band was negotiating and things like that. But let's take a look at a little bit from this performance with Linkin Park today with their new singer. Now, as we had heard for months, Linkin Park could be in the process of enlisting a new female vocalist in the band. That rumor turned out to be true. The reunion rumors also turned out to be true, and you can look at the factors that were surrounding them. I always thought when Jay Gordon just kind of said that in an interview, I'm like, what would his reason be to make that up out of thin air? It more so seemed like it kind of slipped. And then the Billboard article, essentially, they did some deeper digging and it seemed like it was true. And so now we have that confirmation. And so my first impression of Emily up on stage, I thought she was great. I really thought she was fantastic. The amount of pressure that she must have been under stepping into that role. And folks, I really would like people to think about how you talk about this person who is afforded an opportunity, a chance to step into one of the biggest bands on the planet. We need to afford this person some grace, and I sincerely thought she did a great job. Those screams, her singing vocals were fantastic. And, I haven't heard her speak on this, but I would imagine she's not going to be of the mind, hey, I'm here, I can do like Chester does. I'm going to be like Chester. I don't think that's the goal here. I think the fact that they have this female vocalist, she's very different. It's a very different vibe, but I thought she delivered above what my expectations were because there was so much uncertainty about what was going to be happening with this. Of course, I want to hear your comments down below as well. Linkin Park has announced a number of big shows as well in addition to this new record. I really hope that I can have Linkin Park on the podcast to talk about this further. It's just such an exciting time with the band. So, this is a group that's very in demand. I know some of you have already commented, like, can you get them on the podcast? I don't know. We'll see. I think there's going to be so many people asking. It would be incredible, though, if that were possible. But here's what I want to say. There's also been some additional members who are absent from Linkin Park in the band now that many fans immediately noticed. It's unclear exactly what happened with that, but I want to go into now the membership changes and then the fine details about this Linkin Park reunion on this major news day in rock music. All eyes in the music world were on Linkin Park today after months of rumors that one of rock's biggest bands would be reuniting, and they had enlisted a female vocalist. We talked about this a lot throughout this year, and then a couple of weeks ago, Linkin Park launched that mysterious countdown clock, and when the clock struck 0, it started counting up again, ultimately revealing today's September 5th event. And that event, which took place in Burbank, California, was open only to the fans, but they weren't sure what it was going to be. Inside the venue, the stage was set. It was clear there was going to be a performance. Rather than holding a press conference, Linkin Park opted to let the music speak for itself. And that it did. It was a smart move. Rather than speculating about what the new singer would sound like, they let her take the stage, running through a set list of Linkin Park's most iconic hits. She showed off her ability to both sing and also scream. They opened the show with the first ever performance of their new single, The Emptiness Machine. And this is not Emily Armstrong's first band. She's the lead vocalist of a group called Dead Sarah from Los Angeles, California. The new lineup of Linkin Park also includes one notable departure. Drummer Rob Borden has left the band. In his place now on the drum kit is Colin Britton. He's a songwriter and producer who's worked with bands like Papa Roach, Hands Like Houses, Dashboard Confessional, 5 Seconds of Summer, and One OK Rock, to name a few. And now, in a new interview with Billboard, members of Linkin Park are opening up for the first time about this reunion. Mike Shinoda was asked about what their communication was like over the years when the band was inactive. He said, "Everybody's always close, even if they're not talking all the time. I don't really pay attention to how often I'm talking to anybody in the band. It's usually just like, oh, this thing came up and Dave will think it's funny. You just reach out to each other, just like anybody. But I do think at that point in 2019, it's safe to say we were talking less. For me personally, between 19, 20, and 21, I would float the idea of getting together. We'd get together and it was fun. But there wasn't any creative momentum. It was kind of start and stop. The band met Emily around 2019. She came in, we worked together at my old studio. We worked together how many days? Emily chimed in, maybe 3, and he added. And we played around with a couple ideas, but it was just meeting each other. Then at a later point, Em came in with the whole band for an afternoon and worked on something that day. And then it was years. I did a couple other songs and worked with some other people. It was almost like everyone was just exploring the idea of other things. What other things are out there? At some point, I realized that the other things that I was doing were not as exciting, not as fulfilling as this. Getting back into the group, at first it was Dave and Joe, and then Brad came in too at some point. And we were starting to do sessions with other people, some of whom I had written with in the year or two before that, including Colin. And then we brought Emily in. But we did sessions with a lot of different people. And as we worked, things just came into focus naturally. Even with Emily and Colin, we didn't say, hey, come in, we're doing Linkin Park sessions. We just said, we're going to write songs. Emily added, we don't know what we're doing, but we're writing. That's what you said. Shinoda added, I was really clear about not knowing, not calling it anything. That's what me and Dave and Joe agreed we would say. We were telling ourselves, we're not calling this Linkin Park, because who knows? She added, that was better to see where it lands, instead of making it something and then having to fulfill that. In another part of the interview, Emily was asked what Linkin Park meant to her growing up. She said, I was in a band when Hybrid Theory came out. One Step Closer was the song for me, and I was just like, holy shit, that's what I want to do. As a singer, I want to be able to scream. That album was everything. I've listened to it 1 trillion times. I would skate to it. I would mosh to it. Shinoda said, didn't you tell me that when you first heard it, you didn't know you could scream? She said, no, I didn't scream at the time, but I just knew that's what I was going to do. It took me time to develop it, but I learned by listening to singers. I didn't have training and stuff. So Chester was somebody that I knew and I was obsessed. All I would listen to was that album. In a separate part of the interview, Mike addressed Rob's departure from the band on the drums. He said, Rob had said to us at a point, I guess it was a few years ago now, that he wanted to put some distance between himself and the band. And we understood that. It was already apparent. He was starting to just show up less, be in less contact. And I know the fans noticed it too. The Hybrid Theory release and Paper Cuts release, he didn't show up for anything. So for me, as a friend, that was sad. But at the same time, I want him to do whatever makes him happy. And obviously everybody wishes him the best. I had done sessions with Colin. I met him around 2021 when I got an invite to a session with a couple of different writers. And Colin was one of the guys in the room, and I immediately clicked with him. He's playing drums in the live show, and drums are his first instrument, but he plays guitar and bass and keyboard, and he produces and mixes. We have a similar way of looking at music. I'm starting from scratch. And I really enjoyed working with him and bouncing ideas back and forth. You can read the full interview on Billboard's website. Right about now, many of you are probably wondering, when can I see Linkin Park perform? Well, I've got good news. The band just announced the From Zero World Tour, and it's kicking off really soon, like next week, literally. September 11th, the band will perform at the Kia Forum in Los Angeles, California. And then They'll move over to New York City, the Barclays Center, September 16th. And then they'll go to the Barclays Arena in Hamburg, Germany on September 22nd. And then to the O2 in London on September 24th. After that, they go to South Korea on September 28th. And then to Colombia on November 11th. You can learn more about those dates and on sales on their website. So what we have are new Linkin Park songs on the way by way of this new album, From Zero. Of course, the new single is out. The new music video is out. I want to hear your reactions down in the comments. But the band is clearly going on a world tour in the coming weeks. Very soon, we're going to see them back up on stage again. And I cannot imagine the amount of preparation that Emily has undergone. Linkin Park is a very high-level band. They're an elite group. So it's going to be interesting to hear about the process of how she joined the band, and so much more, hearing more about that aside from the interview that we got today. But this is a fascinating moment in rock music. And again, I've said this before, I really trust Linkin Park to continue this legacy in a respectful way. And, you know, I really think, y'all let me know in the comments, but I really believe that Chester would want them to continue. And so that just seems like the type of person that he was. And everyone that I've ever met that knew him spoke so highly of his character and, you know, him as a person. And so it's just a devastating loss with him. And the question is Linkin Park just going to sit on the sidelines forever? Are there membership changes in every band on average throughout history? I would say yes. And so, you know, I fully support Linkin Park returning. I'm excited. I like the new single, and we're going to see what comes next. But I'm looking forward to. I'm going to try to make it up to that show in New York in the next coming couple of weeks. This is just a big moment in rock. And again, I can't imagine the type of pressure. If I was her, I would just kind of stay off social media because she is probably going to be under the microscope now. But I thought she did a fantastic job. Can't imagine the type of pressure that she's under. And this is a very exciting time in rock music. So look, everybody, when Pantera announced this celebration tour, and you know, it's listed as Pantera, everybody knows this is a celebration. Everybody knows that they're not trying to replace anyone. This is just an evolution. Change is inevitable in life. Things change. It's just a part of the process of our existence here on earth. And for her, she's stepping into this role. The band has decided that they want to continue. The members that are participating have decided they want to continue. And so for everybody commenting, like, it's not going to be Linkin Park without Chester, you get to decide whether or not you want to see them play live, whether or not you, but I've never been of the mind that we can tell the band who they are and we can identify them. You know, Mike Shinoda, all of these other members have been a significant part of the group, but of course you can never replace Chester. But I'm really optimistic to see what they come up with next, and I'm looking forward to the opportunity to see them live. So thank you all so much for tuning in. We're going to have more on this as this continues to unfold, and the Linkin Park fans around the world are celebrating this huge moment in rock history. That's your latest update here from Rockfeed. Be sure to subscribe with notifications on if you're new here.